As somebody who hasn't been exactly the most kind to The Walking Dead in recent years, this episode truly cemented the reason why I fell in love with this show in the first place back in season 1. In this video, I'm not going to be doing any cuts, any edits, anything like that. It's just going to be me here talking with you guys about The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 5, which is of course known as Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln's final episode for the show. This episode obviously had a lot of anticipation around it. Obviously, they announced before the season even began that Andrew Lincoln, who of course plays Rick Grimes, the main character, the lead actor of the show, was going to be departing from The Walking Dead this season. So this episode, automatically going into it, had a lot of gravitas surrounding it. And I just want to discuss this episode in general. I don't normally do individual episode reviews on this channel. That's more what my other channel's for, but I just really wanted to talk about this particular episode of The Walking Dead. I feel like this episode really has shown why Angela Kang has been such a great addition to the show behind the scenes, because Season 9 has really stepped up. And I think this episode has really, cemented that, like I say. Because, to be honest with you, I dropped off The Walking Dead in Season 8. I stopped watching it about halfway through because I was just bored of it. I was done. But I said to myself I would come back for Season 9 purely for Andrew Lincoln. Because obviously, like I say, we found out he was leaving. And I wanted to see how he was going to leave the show and how they were going to end off Rick's character, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But I have to say, Season 9 has been really impressive. It's been really strong, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. And like I say, this episode may be one of the best episodes of The Walking Dead ever. I don't know if that's pretentious to say that, but I feel like it is a true possibility. So, what happened in this episode? I mean, obviously, just to kind of get it out of the way, we did have the stuff with Maggie and Negan, which I thought was really great, because we really got to see Maggie just accept the fact that Negan didn't have to die, even though she sought vengeance for Glenn's death, for Abraham's death. It wasn't necessary to have Negan be killed. And I have to give full credit to Jeffrey Dean Morgan as well, because he did a fantastic job with his performance in this episode. Seeing him as just this broken shell of a man, it's this really collapsed version of Negan that we've seen in Season 7, Season 8. It was really interesting to see that. And I really enjoyed his performance, and it's going to show a very different Negan as Season 9 goes on and however long he continues on with this show. If he follows the comics, he should die this season, maybe, but we'll have to see how it goes and how long Jeffrey Dean Morgan is willing to stick around. Now, in terms of the real meat and bones of this episode, Andrew Lincoln, who I think is a tremendous actor, seeing him in this episode as like his big crescendo was really beautiful. It was really nice just to see him with all these different scenes. Obviously, we had the famous cameos in this. We had the first cameo with Jon Bernthal returning as Shane Walsh. Shane is maybe my favourite character in the history of The Walking Dead. I loved Shane. I thought he was such a good character, and I felt really bad for him, especially back in Season 1, Season 2, because, he kind of took in Laurie, he took in Carl, and he kind of, grew them up, and he became a father figure for Carl, which he didn't really have, because obviously Rick was dead, so he didn't have that. So I really like Shane as a character. So, and obviously I love Jon Bernthal, obviously he's the Punisher, so that's obviously a bit of a thing that I love, but I loved seeing Shane return in this episode, and his moments with Rick, really going back to those Season 1, Season 2 vibes. We were really seeing that, the idea that obviously, Judith is actually Shane's daughter biologically, and they had a few jokes about that, and that was a really nice scene, and just seeing them share these final moments together, because Shane is such an important character to Rick as a history, especially in the show. We really got to see him, because Shane was the person who, outside of his family, was the one connection he sort of had before the apocalypse and then after when he met up with Shane. And, Shane was that one character he had a connection with before, outside of Laurie and Carl. So it was really nice to have these more tender moments. And, given that this was Rick's final episode, I think it made a lot of sense to have Jon Bernthal return as Shane for one of these final moments. And I think, obviously, the most emotional sort of gut punch of this episode was seeing Scott Wilson as Herschel. Similarly to Shane, I think Herschel is an incredibly crucial character when it comes to The Walking Dead and when it comes to Rick. I think that he is incredibly pivotal to what we got, especially when we met him, in Season 2 and then his eventual death later on in Season 4. It was really emotional seeing him again, and obviously there was a bit more emotion added to it given to the fact that this was Scott Wilson's final performance. Obviously Scott Wilson has unfortunately passed away, so seeing him give give this final performance for this show for Andrew Lincoln. It was really special. It was a really heart-wrenching moment as well. It was just him telling Rick, you're a good guy. Look at what you've done. You've done so much good. Even though, yeah, I may be gone, Beth's gone, and this has taken a lot of toll on Maggie, I have a grandson and things like that. It was a really nice moment between the two because, obviously, like I say, them two had a really significant bond, especially sort of in season 3, season 4. And they had a really good connection, and seeing that connection brought up again for Rick's final episode was really special, and I really enjoyed all of that. Now, seeing all of the other stuff that's going on in this episode, eventually when we get to Rick's death, his final standoff was a truly great moment for this show. I genuinely think it might be one of the greatest moments in the show's history. I think, Rick just leading the massive pack of walkers all the way through this episode onto the bridge. The bridge, which has been such a big thing this season. They've spent so long establishing it, so long building it up. So seeing it kind of crumble under these circumstances was, I think, really clever writing. I think seeing, you had this big moment, where Rick gets saved by all these people, then it's a hallucination, but then he actually does get saved. You see Daryl come out, he's shooting the arrows with a crossbow, Michonne's trying to scoot around to try and, divert the walkers the other way. And I love that Rick is just saying to them, don't, just don't, it's not worth it. Just, I have a plan, just leave it. And just that final shot where he aims the gun at the dynamite and, the whole theme of looking for his family that's been throughout the entire show, but especially in this episode, and seeing him, saying, I found them, pulls the trigger, blows the entire thing up. And again, I think Danai Gurira did an incredible job. Her reaction to seeing her husband get killed or her partner get killed was really gut punching. Especially, you have to see Carol and Maggie holding her back, and respectively with Daryl as well. Seeing Daryl's reaction was really quite something. So there was so much emotion in this one scene. I was really my jaw was on the floor at this point. Thinking, Jesus Christ, this is incredible for The Walking Dead. They've never done emotion and scale and spectacle quite like this, in my opinion. This is a whole nother level. I mean, there was stuff with the governor and things like that, but for me, this is something else. This was another level. And of course, this does kind of, in the end climax, where we see that he actually survived and he's found by I can't remember her name, but the leader of the trash people. She finds him, and this all connects to the helicopter thing. So, she calls in the helicopter to save Rick's life, and he actually survives. He's in this helicopter, he gets taken away, we don't know where he's going, we don't know what's happening, but he's gone now. He is gone from the show. Like I say, for now, he'll probably won't come back for a long time, but he's gone. And I really like the song they use as well, because the song they use is actually the song they used in the pilot for Rick as well. So that, again, nice bit of symbolism, and makes it come full circle. It felt really good in that way. So that was kind of how it ended. My only kind of complaint and criticism was there was a third cameo, which they had Sonequa Martin Green return as Sasha. I think that could have been somebody else. I don't really feel the need for Sasha to return. I don't really know why they chose her. Wouldn't have it been a lot more impactful if they would have gone with Glenn or Laurie or Carl instead of Sasha? Sasha didn't really have this true bond or connection with Rick, in my opinion. It wasn't a forged bond like Shane or Herschel. She felt a bit random to me. To me, it kind of felt like this was the only actress we had available, because I found that a bit strange. I think it would have been so perfect if it was Glenn. If it was Glenn, it would have been perfect, because Glenn was the first character he met after the apocalypse. After Atlanta fell, he was the character that he first came across. He was the first character who saved his life, and I thought, it would have been a lot more impactful if we got him. But it was still great to see Sasha again, even though I wasn't personally the biggest fan of Sasha's character in the show. It was nice to see her again, and the actual scene itself and the speech she gave to Rick, I thought was really good. Now, like I say, I think this is one of the most tremendous episodes of The Walking Dead. I think it's just absolutely brilliant, and seeing the pure scale and emotion, I was tearing up on so many different occasions throughout this episode. And now, knowing that Rick's gone, even though he's not dead, knowing that he's gone from the show for a long time is something weird, because I've never really experienced this on a TV series before, where the lead actor who, has been with this show for 8.5 seasons is now gone, and how the show's going to progress from that is really interesting. I think it's really, really cool to see where the show's going, because I've not been this excited for The Walking Dead in a very long time. So the fact that this season and this episode has managed to make me really excited going forward, and it's almost won me back. I think that The Walking Dead has won me back for season 9, and that is something I never thought I'd say. So I think that's really surprising. Obviously, they've sort of done a 6-year, 5-year time jump, where we got to see Judith, and we got to see the new characters, like the new beginning characters who are coming in. We got to see them introduced, and we got to see how Judith has taken up Rick's mantle. She had the hat, she had the shotgun, she has like a mini machete from Michonne, which is amazing. So, Judith is kind of almost the future of this show. She's leading the pack. Not necessarily leading the pack, but, she has got that leadership role taking up from Rick. I think that's really awesome. And again, this 6-year time jump is so interesting to me because I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Carol looks amazing. Daryl looks great. There's just so much going on. Obviously, we're getting the Whisperers as well, which is going to be a really fun element to add into the show. And obviously there is the news as well that AMC are going to be making a Rick Grimes trilogy of Walking Dead movies starring Andrew Lincoln. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that per se. I think, it kind of cuts the legs off a little bit. I'd rather not have that. I could do without. But, that's not even connected to the episode. But overall, I thought this was a fantastic episode. My only 2 complaints was that, one, I think the Sasha cameo could have been another character from the show, preferably Glenn. And also, I do kind of wish they would have killed Rick, because at the end of the day, Rick is not going to return to the show anytime soon. And even if he does, he's never going to come back as a full-time cast member. Maybe for the final season, maybe, but who's to say when the final season is? And who's to say that Andrew Lincoln will return? My point is, you can't just bring back Rick for a cameo, you know what I mean? He's the main character of this show. He has a connection to every single character on the current roster. You can't just bring back Rick and be like, oh, here he is, and then he's gone again. You can't do that. So I feel like it would have been a lot better and a lot safer if they would have just killed Rick. Especially because his final standoff was so incredible. Although it did pay off the helicopter thing, I don't really know if that was entirely necessary. I feel like maybe we could have done that in a different way, and maybe something a bit more cool, because obviously there are hints to maybe it could be connected to the Commonwealth in the comics, so there is that as well. But other than those 2 complaints, I think this was a brilliant episode of The Walking Dead. And like I say, I'm officially back on board. So thank you guys for watching this, just this video about The Walking Dead. I know it's very different. It's not what I typically do. I don't really do individual episode kind of reviews, but I just, The Walking Dead has been on my brain all day, and I've really wanted to talk about it, so I thought I'd just get on camera and say it. So I hope you guys did enjoy this, and if you did, please subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you guys again in my next video.